Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is particularly important to you if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Father of a Stolen Child, the Adam Meakin, Arwin, who's joining right in the middle of my intro, of course, Neil, did I say 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you for asking, Neil.
Hello.
Hello, Arwin. Good to have you.
Hey.
Can I get a hello from Discord? Should have done this in the pre-show, clearly. Nobody responding to me whatsoever in Discord. Well, thank you, guys. So pleased to have you all. Every one of them off mute. Nobody even wants to say hello. You miserable lot, all of you. Nope, that didn't work either. Okay.
Can't even bait them.
Can't even bait
that
them.
when you watch a boxing match, they normally shake hands before it starts. These people can't even say hi.
Graceful. You watch, as soon as I ask the first housekeeping question, someone will come off mute and interrupt it. There's Rams.
Yeah, but you can't count. You can't count Neil in that. You can't count Neil in that one interruption though.
Oh, right. So if I start a housekeeping question and immediately get interrupted by Neil, it doesn't count as a Discord interruption. Yeah, I'll buy that for $1. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Back like 3 or 4 years ago, when people would ask, why can we see, I don't know, say y'all argued about a lighthouse. And the question would formulate as, how come we can see the lighthouse behind this much Earth curve in the context of, is the Earth flat? And, you know, it was, if you just sit and think about it, well, you're admitting to Earth curve. So you want to know why we can see the lighthouse from behind Earth curve, accepting that Earth curve is true. You know, and
yes,
that's why I didn't think that was a good argument.
Well, yeah, that was a sort of 2017 revelation, if you will. So the curve calculator gets renamed the Begging the Question Proof of Nothing Perspective Hijacking Earth Curve Calculator. And the first part of that is the begging the question bit. So you're saying, when you're asked, why is there X amount of Earth curve blocking your view of this boat in the distance? Well, then you're automatically begging the question that there's an Earth curve for a horizon, aren't you? Hence the Begging the Question Proof of Nothing Perspective Hijacking Earth Curve Calculator became its retitled name.
Nobody claimed the visible horizon was geometric.
Other than the Earth Curve Calculator, Arwin.
Does it? Or does it
Yeah, it's surprisingly in the title.
It just hands you back numbers when you insert them.
What's the title of that calculation again?
Doing.
What's its title, Arwin?
Well, I don't think it has its title has any meaning to its personal understanding.
Earth Curve Calculator. Definitely begging the question of Earth Curve, Arwin, I assure you. It's in the title.
Well, does a dog understand what its own name implies?
What? Oh my god. What's got into you?
How did we get to dog?
Just Arwin plucked any false analogy out of his head quickly and threw it out without missing a beat, I might add.
No, it's just like the anthropomorphizing of the Earth curve calculator, like it is aware of what it is. It's just a
Anthropomorphization
calculation thing.
is to make human, and you compared it to a dog, Arwin.
Yeah, but that's because dogs don't actually understand words, right? They go by phonetics, but they
My
don't
dog
know what
does.
it means.
My
So-
dog
knows.
does.
If you call your dog Earth
So
curve
does mine.
calculator, does it understand what it means?
My dog's name is not Earth Curve Calculator, so it wouldn't.
My
Yeah, you can't-
dog's name is Ringo, and he listens.
Yeah, you can't have more than
because
two
he
syllables.
recognizes the sound.
2 syllables tops for a dog's name. 1, preferably.
Ringo.
Well, I have successfully distracted the argument away, so
That's true. Successful job. That's all you've got to do if you're an anti-flat earther, really. Take the rails, take the train off the rails, and you've done a good job, right?
Yeah, to
I
get it back on
tried.
track.
Any
get it back
evidence
on
of Earth
track,
curve?
though,
It's the first housekeeping question.
Yeah, the way flat earthers used to formulate the question to globe earthers prior to the black swan kind of begged the question that there was an Earth curve there, but why isn't blocking as much as it's supposed to? You know.
Indeed,
So-
and
it wasn't if Earth curve was there, but whether how much of the Earth curve was there. That was the issue.
and the victory dance, same. So the victory dance is we see too far. Oh God, no, we don't see too far. We just see. What do you mean too far? Oh right, there should be, says the flat earth. There should be Earth curve in the way at this distance. Oh, should there be? No, there should not. I just see a clock. I just see the Chicago skyline. That's not me seeing too far. That's just me seeing the Chicago skyline. That's just me seeing a clock at Barrow-in-Furness. It's not me seeing too far. But if you're going to assume that there should be Earth curve in the way, then you're going to state that you're seeing too far. Well, I don't assume that we should have Earth curve in the way. And therefore we are seeing further than we should. We're not. We just see a clock. We just see Chicago skyline. We see it because it's there. Earth is obviously observably, measurably and navigatably flat. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
I
gonna
still
need
wanted
off
one
of that.
last comment on that. Like Globers, when you realize you see too far, you have to close your eyes.
If they open their eyes again, they've got a phenomena on their hands, Arwin. Close my
Exactly.
eyes, open it, it's still there! Phenomena.
Why I hate
Axial
when flat
rotation.
earthers say I see too far. I can't stand it.
Yeah, it does bug me. I won't lie. Hey, Chocolate.
Yo.
Morning, people.
Good morning. Good to have you. We're on axial rotation of the Earth-based variety. We're only 2 questions in. Still no
Can
word
you
from Discord.
demonstrate Can you demonstrate axial rotation without a radius?
No. You can't even beg the question of axial rotation without a radius.
Well, they don't even want you to assume axial rotation when using the sextant.
But hold on.
Oh, whoa. Hold on, Arwin.
A
Hold on.
two-dimensional straight line or a one-dimensional straight line could rotate around its axis without having a radius. Oh wait, it's one-dimensional. Never mind.
No, it wouldn't. It'd still have to have a radius to have a rotation value.
It's called a clock hand, and the clock hand is the radius.
Yeah, but if you just remove both hands and the mechanism's still functioning, right, the pole down the centre of the clock is still rotating and still would require a radius value in order to give you a radian value, to give you a rotation rate. Even if it's just the pole, right? Just measure it in mils instead of in inches. You're causing a bit of issues there, 10th. There we go.
Well, it's not my issues. It's what they say in how can I put it? It's what I'm finding out, that when you use the sextant, the people who believe you're using it on the globe are saying when you use it, just make sure that at the time you're using it, that the stars are moving, but not the Earth.
What?
Now, I've posted these things before.
That's what they're stating, because the position that you're trying to attain is relative to where you are and where you are travelling. Therefore, it makes no sense to have that be the thing that's moving. Heaven forbid, when you're trying to locate a position. Well, no, it's much easier to have the stars moving over the positions of the land and lining up with the time of day that they're at that GP. So, I don't know, if you're watching later on tonight, if it's a clear light, look above your head at various points in the night, and directly above you, at some stage, you'll have a star. Give or take, depending on where you are. But that is the star's GP, i.e. when it's above your head, when that star is over your location. Well, you need it to be stated and calculated in that manner if you're trying to find that position from the sea. So if somebody's trying to triangulate with the star that's above my head at that particular time of day, then you can look it up on a map and say that's where that star is above, and then draw your radius around it when you're triangulating it. And then do the same thing twice more if you need to, or once more if you can figure it out from two. And then you've got your two GPs for your two different stars and where they're above. You know, there could be another dude on another bit of land looking up at a star that you're calculating again from somewhere in the ocean to figure out your position with. And that star's just above that dude's head at that particular time of day. Well, as soon as you start keeping the stars stationary and the ground moving, you've got the ground moving to meet the underside of the star at a particular part of the day. It makes no sense. It's difficult to figure out. Even logically, you start wrapping your head around it, and it's like, well, why do I need to wrap my head around it in this way when I'm just moving from A to B on the ground? Why do I have to have the ground moving? You don't. It isn't.
That's the ridiculousness of thinking you're traveling on something that's also traveling. That's ridiculous.
Well, it's kind of like standing on the automated staircase. What do you call that in the shopping malls? Automated staircases.
Travelator, escalator.
Escalators, right? Well, when you're standing on an escalator, you definitely feel it, even though it is moving at a stable pace, right? You feel it. You feel that you're moving in relation to the road.
That's just somebody trying to pick your pocket.
No, I don't think so.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
What is it?
The sun? I don't know. I don't mind going up an octave when I say that either. I don't know.
What's the distance
So it was
to
a burning
rainbow?
ball of gas.
What, in a vacuum, Neil? Violating the natural law known as the second law of thermodynamics.
But if I didn't write that down in school, I would have got it incorrect.
Yes.
Wouldn't the explosive power of solar flares push Earth out of orbit, I wonder?
That'd be solar flares in the heliocentric model emanating from a burning ball of gas in the sky vacuum, Arwin. Same answer.
Right. It is kind of like a mini explosion gas that is venting off, reaching all the way to Earth. Well, wouldn't that have some kind of a pushing influence?
I don't know in their version of this nonsense, Arwin. I'm sorry, I can't answer that. Maybe a heliocentrist can answer.
These issues
It's
are
like the sun throwing
everywhere.
kamehamehas.
Right. But these types of issues with exactly this sort of thing are everywhere. I brought one up yesterday as well, if you remember. The gas venting off. Isn't that actually going to be like, well, pushing against stuff, against the moon? Because gases escaping push things. So anywhere it is suggested within the heliocentric conceptions that there supposedly is gas possible to isolate versus the vacuum, well, when they talk about when it vents off or does this or that, goes out there, it's going to have an influence. It's going to push in some way. That's going to change orbits. Orbits are not stable.
So Chocolate said something. I don't know what he said. I don't know the words he used, but I'm guessing he described the sun having an effect a bit like a Hadouken like Ryu, just firing out a fireball. Is that what you just described, Chocolate?
Exactly. Except a lot bigger. A Kamehameha is like a Hadouken, but on a much larger scale.
It's more
So,
like
yeah.
a spirit bomb.
Can you block a Hadouken
No, it's
in
not.
Super Street Fighter, or is it just the power moves that are like kicks and punches?
Yeah, you can block it.
Ah, the Earth just blocks it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's magnetic shield.
You got it.
And the
Now
way
we're
that
talking
you put-
bullshit heliocentrism. Got a magic shield, Darwin. Perfect. That's more like it.
You just
Well,
have to
that's what
hold
the,
R and you
Yeah,
block
but-
it, don't you?
But it's gonna rearrange the material that supposedly moves towards it. It's still a supposed object in Euclidean space and outer space with an orbit, so it's still going to be pushed slightly.
Stop worrying about the object, and let's concern ourselves more with the force field you've just made up. Let's give it a name.
The ionosphere, or what is
No,
it?
no,
Magnetosphere.
new one. The Hadouken force field stops the solar flares from the sun. Moving us out of our orbital path when we assume.
They already have that.
The
They already have
blockosphere.
that.
Hold on.
No, they already got that.
What is it?
They already the radiation belts. What do they call them?
Van Allen belts.
Yeah, the Van Allen belts. Yeah, they already got that.
It doesn't block anything.
Van Halen died.
You can go
No,
straight through it.
Well, they say it blocks the radiation from the sun. It's what they say.
No,
There you go. That's all you needed. You
No,
need the
that-
power up.
that's not what they said.
You need to ascertain where you can find this Van Allen belt, and that'll protect you from the Hadoukens. It's just that simple, Arwin.
No, but that's incorrect. That's not what the Van Allen radiation belt was about.
Look,
Not
just because you haven't met Alan yet doesn't mean that it's not the way of the heliocentric rhetoric. You do need that power up to progress, Arwin. It's just the way it is.
No, but the radiation, I think, was coming from just the place being radiated by the sun's radiation, when further down, the magnetosphere is the thing that actually stops it all from entering the atmosphere.
Nah, you're thinking of Street Fighter 1. That's definitely not the case now. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Solar flares.
Do you want to qualify that a bit further, Arwin?
No, I got nothing.
No, I didn't think so. Gravity? Anybody from Discord? Just as a hint that I still haven't sound checked you. No, Nathan. Oh, thanks so much. It's so useful to be able to sound check Discord middle of a live show.
Hey, Nathan, what's up?
Sky. It's all relative, though.
Okay, gas doesn't go down, go boom boom, unless it is contained and the container and it is more dense than the surrounding medium.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure in the first instance without necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No, that's impossible. It's contained.
What if you claim the outer boundaries of the universe as the container, and then the inertial vector of Earth creating the microstates?
Then you'd have available microstates.
What's stopping them?
Hold on.
No. The inertial vector of Earth is what's creating the microstate.
In this
It
context...
sounds like a bunch of
hold on, Owen.
geocentrist
Hold
mumbo
on.
jumbo.
In this context, what do you mean by microstate? When you're talking about an inertial reference Earth creates, giving you microstates? This is a new one on me. You'll have to break this down for me, John.
Well, just like in the same way when you hold your hand out the window going down the road and you feel that pressure because there's a creation of microstates in front of your hand.
No, that's you moving your hand at a great rate through air. You're not increasing or decreasing the number of available microstates in that system when you do that.
And the pressure wouldn't change.
Yeah, you are creating pressure because you are moving into the wind. How does this affect the number of available microstates in that system, i.e. the wind that you are travelling through? How does that affect the number of available microstates with respect to entropy?
They'd be higher on the front of your hand than on the back.
A higher pressure, not a higher number of microstates. Unless you're suggesting
that the same thing?
Well, no, because if you're describing the number of available microstates in relation to an entropic effect that your hand is experiencing, which one are you describing? The system of the gas pressure the question's about, or your hand? Which one are you describing?
System.
That was a mumble. I didn't catch that. Say again.
The system.
But the system isn't your hand, is it?
No, but its movement changes the availability of microstates around it.
I can only assume this is an argument someone's put to you, where they've switcherooed the effect on an object in a system for the system. Am I wrong?
Well, it's just one extrapolation there to assume Earth's an object. You know, you got to get them to accept that part first.
No, I understand the point and the analogy you're drawing with it, but in that example, your hand's the equivalent to the Earth moving in its vector that you've described in the first instance. Well, therefore, you're describing the entropic effect on the Earth, as opposed to the entropy experienced by the gas, the increase being it dispersing into, and then it being calculatable with the number of available microstates that the gas has to experience that flow, that dispersion. Well, that's the gas itself, isn't it? It's not the Earth in an inertial vector, I think you said. I can't remember the term you use now. It's the first time I've heard this.
Yeah. It's a
switcheroo.
Well, yeah, of course it is. That's all they got. But, you know, it's almost clever.
Almost. Only in the respect that it's caught me off guard because I've never heard it before, but not really.
I can keep arguing it because at the moment that you accept that my hand can change the microstates in that area, then why can't Earth?
Okay. Any evidence you can have hands without a container? Oh, my bad, it wasn't the question. We're not talking about the Earth. We're talking about the gas pressure that the Earth has. Well, that's not the Earth, that's the gas.
Well, I think the argument would be that the space is not available for those microstates because it doesn't have a vector.
But the available number of microstates is calculable based on the V, isn't it?
Well, then you got to get into Einsteinian space.
No, we don't.
You know,
no, we don't. No, we don't. That's got nothing to do with entropic effects. No, we don't. But when you said the V originally, you said, what if I take the volume to be the entirety of space, or whatever region you arbitrarily assigned in this example, and then had Earth, with the switcheroo, creating microstates through its inertial vector? I mean, it doesn't even make sense, but nevertheless, it's a do-si-do to take you away from the effect the gas is experiencing and the entropic increase that the gas would effectively have to undergo if the sky was a vacuum. It's ignoring that.
Well, kind of. It's just saying that the gas is expanding in all directions. It's just Earth's inertial speed is keeping it from filling space.
I mean, even if I beg the question with you and have geodesics in space-time as the reason, which is what you're basically doing, well, it's travelling in a particular orbital motion, therefore it's got a path and a direction around the sun. And if that's the geodesic that you're going to be claiming, then what about the stuff behind it? You're going to have a great big tail of gas just escaping from the behind bit if it's moving forward in this geodesic.
Well, no, because that vector gives the direction, so it would, if you were going to describe it, it would be like a flat Earth rising up
No,
at
I get that.
9.8 meters per second.
Yeah, I got that. But the gas isn't doing that. It's not following one vector, is it? it's going in all vectors. So that might just
Right,
about
but
account for it for one vector, but you've got infinite vectors.
Right, I'm not accounting for the gas. I'm accounting for Earth overtaking those
okay.
vectors.
My bad. Yeah, so you've almost got me there because it's the first time I've heard it and you shrouded it in a little bit of confusion. We're back onto me actually arguing with you in the point that I've ripped apart already, which is that we're not talking about gas anymore. 10th, I've got
No, you can't really.
Go on.
You can't really argue. Yeah, you can't. You can't argue it. You know, even if gravity was real, even if there was a radius value, the gas would have dispersed into space if it was as big as they say it is.
Indeed, although it's not a flat Earth proof, it definitely undoes the claim that we've got a sky vacuum, and the heliocentric model is based in a sky vacuum. So, yeah, it doesn't prove we're on a flat plane. I've got your Flight Navigator Handbook front cover up, 10th man. I assume this is 10th man that sent this. You're on mute if you... Let's go back onto that screen and see what's going on. You there, 10th? Clearly not.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm here. Hang on. Let me get my tea, finish the housekeeping, and then I got to present.
Oh, all right. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Solar flares pushing the Earth out of orbit.
Kamehameha!
Hadouken. Right, shout out to Godzilla37 who says, "The hand in front of your face, ? Not really there? Full stop. The 90 a sextant forms at the GP ? Not really a 90? Oh, I see where it's going now. And that straight tangent line ? Well, it's curved if your globe couldn't lie. Could they even speak?" Thank you very much for the super chat. Sorry I butchered reading it out. Lost 12 people while I read out that super chat.
That's true. They can't speak. This defending of their model has reduced them to sounding like babbling fools. So that super chat was absolutely right. They can't speak anymore. This is why they sound so ridiculous, some of the things that they say, because they have to say these things because they have to defend the model that can't be defended. That should stand on its own 2 feet, but it doesn't. And here they come like the Guardians of the Galaxy to try to defend some crap that they can't defend. It's hilarious. Sound like morons.
We're of like mind, Chocolate. So I've released a video that precedes the show it was taken from tonight at 8:45. If you're watching this live, 9:45. I've moved forward an hour now. So at 9:45 p.m. UK time, I trimmed out a clip from the end of yesterday's show, and we were discussing exactly that. You know, their delusions and their pain as a consequence of their delusions. That was the main focus of it. But the sentiment was exactly what you just said, Chocolate. Were you there yesterday? Godzilla agrees with me. He says, "See, Chocolate gets it," with another super chat. Thank you very much indeed for the super chats, Godzilla.
I just want to know why they would have morons defending the galaxy.
And a raccoon.
See, it's like a self-chosen mission, right? It's like they oh my God, there's this group of people out there that are asking questions about this model that we live on, or we think we live on. So we have to step up and be the ones to defend this model that's undefendable. Like that, it's like a self-given mission. Look, the cornball who calls himself fight. So one of them has to fight us, right? Like, what are you doing, bro? Fight the flat Earth? Are you serious?
So whereas Neil deGrasse Tyson avoids it, these people volunteer for it.
Exactly. They're like the fallen soldiers, man. Got to give it. You can't send the priest out there, right? It's like the king who sits in his castle and has the minions go out for him. Well, these cornballs that we debate are the cornball or are the minions, but they've chosen to be the minions to defend this crap.
Yep, good way of putting it.
I'm wondering why. Why is that though?
Pain.
Why do you guys give
Pride and
yourself this
pain.
mission?
They're dying for
Pride.
your
Because if we're so silly and we're to be just discarded like we're nothing just for asking questions, why do you pay us so much mind?
We're in
Why
the
do
winning
you-
side of
why
the
do you
argument.
spend so much? Yeah. You spend so much time arguing with us and making videos and wanting to come here and schedule appointments for a straight line you don't have. I mean, what? Where does it end? Where does the stupidity end?
Chocolate, did you get another email from someone?
No. I didn't get anything up.
Maybe it's being framed wrong. Maybe we should frame it as, wouldn't you like to see Neil deGrasse Tyson come in here and just beat up on Nathan Oakley, guys? Let's get him here.
I'd love to see that. Oh boy.
I think that would scare the living shit out of them.
That's never going to happen. You know, this has been set up, carefully orchestrated, so that we're fighting the clowns like Fight the Flat Earth. Right, who's got the ball?
Yeah.
Who's presenting?
I
Yeah.
am.
No, I'm first.
We haven't got through
I'll
housekeeping
keep
yet.
it short.
We haven't
Go
done
first
housekeeping.
then. Go first.
Yes, I'll
Housekeeping,
keep it
housekeeping. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, like the one on screen?
No.
Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Nope. And even when I look at the edge of this ball, it just doesn't look natural. It doesn't look. It almost seems like it's not a ball. Like even when they model it out, it doesn't look like a ball at the edges. It doesn't look like a sphere at all. It looks like it is flat and they folded it into a sphere. That's what it seems like I'm looking at.
That's what they did do. Is that
Right.
your bit done? Because 10th's waiting in the wings.
No. I had another report to make because I suddenly discovered this morning that remember the issue with Google Maps and Google Earth earlier, like 2 years ago. I brought it up. Like, hey, look, the scale bar. Remember that?
Yes.
Well, guess what? Guess what they corrected or just made it completely incorrect. There's no more scale change. It's the same thing. No more scale change. See? It's completely gone. Completely. So,
Just for the audience's
yeah,
benefit, Arwen, I'm
they
just going to wave my
changed the
mouse.
matrix.
Hold on. I'm just going to wave my mouse over the scale bar that you're talking about so people know what you're talking about.
this in the right corner, right bottom corner.
Yep.
It's not changing anymore.
Very interesting. I would suggest that as there's nothing changing physically on... Unless, I can't quite tell, you're going too fast. It doesn't change...
No, but
Does it change or zoom in or zoom out to keep the scale the same as you're moving around now? Because it doesn't look like it.
no, it does change when you zoom in like this.
That's
see?
not what I mean. I mean, does it do that and change the scale so that the bar can remain at the same scale as you scroll around without zooming?
I
Doesn't
don't know.
look like it.
I'm just moving it from left to right, from top to bottom, and the scale bar does not change. I don't know.
I got that. Bloody hellfire.
Sorry.
Yes, I got that, Arwen. I'm trying to say that when you showed us last time, 2 years ago, yeah, as you danced around, the scale showed that it changes as you move around. Now, as it stands, it looks to me like everything remains the same. You're not zooming in or zooming out as you move around, but the scale bar stays the same. That can only mean one thing, that the scale is inaccurate as you scroll around now. Rather than it just changing and saying, oh, the scale's at this now, and now it's at that as you move around. It's just going to say, yeah, it's at the same scale, but it's wrong.
That would be my conclusion as well. So they broke it. They changed the matrix. They broke it. Now, apparently other people started to pay attention to it or getting annoyed by it. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so they removed it. They just turned it off, I think.
Easy
It's no
solution.
longer...
Easy solution for
Right.
him, right?
Yeah, censorship. Ultimate solution.
Shout out to, and then we'll go to 10th man. Promise we haven't forgotten you, 10th. Praise Yah. He says, FE is the gateway to the creator. Hella Yah. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Anyway, thanks for letting me present that. 10th man, it's all yours.
Thanks, Armin. Can you go to the first of those slides? It should say Flight Navigator Handbook in Master B.
Yeah, it's on.
All right. So
We've got
this
some
is,
echo. Who's echoing? Everyone else mute, please.
So this is from the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation Administration, talking about celestial navigation from an airplane. So similar to a boat on the ocean, but from the sky. Go to the next slide, please. You'll see the next page. It says U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation Administration, Flight Navigator Handbook 2011. The next slide, very colorful, Chapter 8. You can download this from the internet, anybody, by the way, so you can have at it like I did. We're going to come back to this slide and read that in a minute, Nathan, but go to the next slide. And we're going to read all of this as well. And I've got it blown up in the slides in front, so we won't have to look at the small print. But go back one slide where it says Chapter 8, Celestial Concepts. It says celestial navigation is a universal aid to dead reckoning, DR, because it's available worldwide and is independent of electronic. You need to go back to the main chapter page.
Yeah, it's because I'm so distracted by you feeding back. I think it's you. You've got your headphones on too loud or something like that.
All right, I'll step away. Sorry. Is this better?
Or turn your speakers down. Yeah, I'm on the last one. Celestial Concepts.
All right, I'm on my phone. That's why. Perfect. Let me just make this bigger for me so I can read it a lot easier. All right, celestial navigation. Is this better?
Seems good now.
All right, celestial navigation is a universal aid to dead reckoning, DR, because it is available worldwide and is independent of electronic equipment. It is a very reliable method of fixing the position of the aircraft. It cannot be jammed and emanates no signals. Each celestial observation yields one line of position, LOP. In the daytime, when the sun may be the only visible celestial body, a single LOP may be all you can get. At night, when numerous bodies are available, LOPs obtained observing two or more bodies may be crossed to determine a fix. It is impossible to predict in so many miles the accuracy of a celestial fix. Celestial accuracy depends on the navigator's skill, the type and condition of the equipment, and the weather. With the increase in aircraft speed and range, celestial navigation is very demanding. Fixes must be plotted and used as quickly as possible. You do not have to be an astronomer or mathematician to establish a celestial line of position. Your ability to use a sextant is a matter of practice, and specially designed celestial tables have been reduced the computations to simple arithmetic. All right, so now if you go to the next slide, you see all that writing. Keep moving forward. We're going to start with the first paragraph. Although you do not need to understand astronomy in detail to establish an accurate celestial position, celestial work and celestial lines of positions mean more if you understand the basics of celestial astronomy. Celestial astronomy includes the navigational bodies in the universe and their relative motions. Although there are an infinite number of heavenly bodies, celestial navigation utilizes only 63 of them, 57 stars, the moon, the sun, Venus, Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn. Now this one in bold print says assumptions. Now what are they going to have to assume? Here we go. We make certain assumptions to simplify celestial navigation. These assumptions help you obtain accurate lines of positions without a detailed knowledge of the celestial astronomy. However, celestial positioning is more than extracting numbers from various books. A working knowledge of celestial concepts helps you cross-check your computations. What's the first thing they assume? The Earth is a perfect sphere. That puts every point on the Earth's surface equidistant from the center, forming a terrestrial sphere. Next, assume the terrestrial sphere is the center of an infinite universe. Finally, assume all other bodies except the moon are an infinite distance from the terrestrial sphere. Imagine them on the inside surface of an enormous concentric sphere, the celestial sphere. If the stars, planets, and sun are infinitely distant from the Earth's center, then Earth's surface or aircraft's altitude is approximately the center of the universe. Ptolemy proposed the celestial concept of the universe in AD 127. He said the Earth is the center of the universe, and all bodies rotate about the Earth from east to west. In the relatively short periods of time involved with celestial positioning, you can assume that all bodies on the celestial sphere rotate at the same rate. In actuality, over months or years, the planets move among the stars at varying rates. Establishing an artificial celestial sphere with an infinite radius simplifies computations. For 3 celestial spheres has a corresponding point on the terrestrial sphere, and conversely, every point on the terrestrial sphere has a corresponding point on the celestial sphere. The second, celestial sphere's infinite radius dwarfs variations in the observer's location. An infinite radius means all light rays from the celestial body arrive parallel, so the angle is the same whether viewed at the Earth's center or the surface or at the aircraft's altitude. Third assumption, the relationships are valid for all bodies on the celestial sphere. Because the moon is relatively close to the Earth, it must be treated differently. With certain corrections, the moon still provides an accurate line of position. This is addressed in Chapter 10, Celestial Precomputation. Next slide. Because the celestial sphere because the celestial sphere and terrestrial sphere are concentric, each sphere contains an equator, 2 poles, meridians, and parallels of latitudes or declination. The observer on the Earth has a corresponding point directly overhead on the celestial sphere called the zenith. A celestial body has a corresponding point on the terrestrial sphere directly below. It is called the subpoint or geographic position. At the subpoint, the light rays from the body are perpendicular to Earth's surface. Next slide. As we end with this, consistent with celestial assumptions, the Earth and the celestial meridians do not rotate. All bodies on the celestial sphere rotate 15 degrees per hour past the celestial meridians. The moon moves at approximately 14.5 degrees per hour. Next slide. So this drawing we've seen before. They need the assumption that the stars are infinitely far away, that light reaching the Earth is parallel, as shown in this old vintage photo. And so whether you're on an airplane or on the surface of a curved sphere or from the center, the angles match up. Next one. Shows the sun and a distant object. Now, of course, this is divergent rays coming from a circular sun outwards, as Adam has shared with us. Each photon goes away from it in all directions. But they're saying we're so far away that those light rays are coming at us at parallel. Next slide. Well, if you live on a curved Earth and the sun rays hit parallel, that's what's causing the angles, because the sun rays are coming in parallel. This is what they want us to believe. And it's the surface of the curve that's causing the angular difference. Next slide. However, that plane that we live on, when noon, the sun is at the zenith, directly overhead, you have the right angle, much needed for celestial navigation. Then if it's early morning, far right of the picture, the sun is rising in the horizon at a 0 angle. At mid-morning, the sun is getting higher at an acute angle. Afternoon, the sun is setting lower at an obtuse angle. Evening, the sun is ready to set at a very obtuse angle, almost a straight angle, 180. This is how a sextant works, and this is how the sun works. And we live on the flat plane because the sextant can't work on a curved surface, and this is how we get our angles. Next slide showing the depiction, an illustration of lining up the horizon and bringing the star or sun to the horizon, measuring the angle, creating the right angle. The first circle of equal altitude. Next slide. We're going to show you S1, star 1, with one circle of equal altitude. It's directly over someplace on Earth, as shown in the box indicating 90 degrees. The O is the observer with the sextant. He's somewhere on this circle. He just doesn't know where he's at. We just read an article saying you're going to need to do more than one in order to get a fix. But this is the first one you do, line the position. Next slide. So what does it look like? It looks like a flagpole and a circle drawn around it with equidistant measurements in that circle, meaning 50 degrees anywhere on that circle. You just don't know where you are in the ocean, but you're somewhere on that circle. So if we move to the next slide, you'll see doing 3 circle of equal altitudes by choosing 3 different luminaries. And those circles are various sizes. But in this picture, it's showing 3 of them crossing at one point, all having right angles, all by the sextant, because it's an angle measuring device. It's triangulation, whether they like it or not. And there you have a fix. Next slide, showing the sextant, a wonderful navigation tool. But here's the killer, the last 2 slides. These are my own pictures. How does the sunlight come in? You think the sextant kills the globe ball? The sextant and the black swan destroy the globe. But sunlight, divergent rays, destroy everything about their model. Everything. Last picture of divergent rays. This is reality. They're a million miles away from reality if they think this is parallel. Their whole model dies right here with divergent rays. 2021, year of the sextant. You're coming home to the black swan ballers. I'm done.
Excellent.
I got a modus.
Go, John, go.
I got a modus. Yeah, I got a modus potens based on Tent's presentation. And well, me and Brian talked about it a little bit. So I kind of combined our 2 modus ponens into one. Is if the sextant uses a circle of equal altitude and triangulation to navigate thousands of miles, then it requires a baseline for that triangulation. The sextant does use a circle of equal altitude and triangulation to find places on Earth thousands of miles away. Therefore, the Earth, that baseline, must be flat.
That's excellent. Kudos, both of you. More to 10th, but that was an excellent modus ponens. Is that right? If A, then B, A, therefore B. Excellent.
Did you notice all the assumptions?
Yeah, well, I was listening very closely.
Yeah, I mean, why assume if you already have it? If you're on the sphere, why assume you're on the sphere? Why do you have to assume things that don't correlate with what you're really on? So we have to assume, okay, we're on a sphere, but you got to assume what? Everything opposite. It's as if a conscience of this writer has a relationship to reality a little bit, to where they have to say, okay, in order for it to work in our globe model, we have to assume all these things. Then it works in theory, because we have none of it in reality. We don't have sunlight parallel, but we got to assume it's parallel. The sextant, can't work on a curved surface. So we got to assume the light is parallel and assume that the sextant reading is from the center of the circle. So then that way it can be the same degrees at the surface or from an airplane if you hold the sextant. The problem is the observer is not at the center of any circle, let alone a sphere. And the tool can't work in imagination of assumptions. The tool only works against the horizon.
Yes, indeed. The sextant only works on a flat plane.
Precisely.
Devastating.
It's so devastating. But the most devastating is every day when you go out and you see diverging rays when there's some clouds in the sky. Know for sure you live on a plane and sunlight is not an infinite distance away, and it's not coming in parallel, and everything about their model dies. All their calculations about how far Betelgeuse is or any of it, it all goes away with those wonderful divergent rays.
Well, does that go to when they start trying to say that the rays are straight? That goes to when they're describing the circle of equal altitude, right? Because they don't believe, even though they measure a circle of equal altitude, they don't believe it. They believe it's like a cone of divergent zeniths. They don't believe in the circle of equal altitude, do they?
Then why do they have the 90-degree box in there?
Right. They can claim
Exactly.
they've got reciprocating zenith angles, but it doesn't change the fact that you're actually taking it from parallel points on the ground with 90 degree to your feet in every single case. So they can say it after the fact. That is to say that when you actually do the triangulation, you don't consider that you're on a sphere. You do measure a straight line.
Other than the last two slides of actual divergent rays being photographed, every part of this presentation was from the globe side and their writings. Unlike Bob the fallacy guy coming in with no citations, just him saying, we believe, I'm using everything they have out there to destroy themselves. They can't use this or they destroy themselves.
So their own information has them in a world of shit.
It would
Yes.
appear so. I mean, if you go back to what they want, the last part of the part I read, consistent with the celestial assumptions. First of all, they have to have all these assumptions for their model to work, is that the Earth and the celestial meridians do not rotate. They're fighting for Earth-based Coriolis. They're saying we don't understand it. And then here, they're saying, look, in order for your model to work and for you to fight for anything that the globe represents, you got to make sure that you put in a category of an assumption. And then you have to state in that assumption, the Earth and the celestial meridians do not rotate. All bodies.
The whole. I was listening to that. I mean, to summarize, basically, they're saying, look, you can do this navigation on a ball, but to do it, what you need to assume or change your things to is that actually everything's taken off a flat stationary plane, the stars and heavenly bodies moving above you as you sit at the center of the universe. I mean, it's quite clear. For this to work, we are God's creation at the center of the universe on a flat stationary plane. They're the assumptions they're telling you
Correct.
to make
Correct.
to be able to use this.
That's right. That's right. I hadn't spotted the other two, but certainly because Sense just highlighted it. Yeah, in order to say, yeah, we can use a sextant on a ball. Yeah, you can. But first, you've got to tell me how we're not spinning, because that's a prerequisite assumption you must make to use this tool. But it goes further than that, though, doesn't it, Adam? They've got to say we're at the centre of the universe. It's epic. Just to use the tool, you've got to concede that you're not spinning and at the centre of the universe, Fundies.
Just poke Mr. Hubble a little bit in the process, yeah.
That's hilarious. What's the other industry that has to assume that the Earth is flat and stationary in order to put vehicles in use for practical use? Oh, aviation. Oh,
Yeah, airplanes.
That's a little weird. So again, we have to assume something is what it's not in order for it to work the way it needs to. That's ridiculous.
Exactly. So just bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that you're being told you're on a sphere, but were you to, I don't know, take up flying, you'd have to understand and appreciate that you're flying across a level surface in order to do that task. Or if you're navigating the seas with a sextant, you must first assume that you're at the centre of the universe and not spinning. And in order to take the measurements, obviously being a tool that measures angles, you're going to be using straight lines and a flat baseline, proving Earth's flat when you do it. As long as you make all those assumptions, you're all good with the sextant on a globe.
Well, the interesting thing I think about the sextant is, like, Earth is as flat as far as we can measure with a theodolite. But the sextant goes beyond the horizon. It goes on for thousands of miles. All that has to be flat. So it doesn't stop at the horizon and say, oh, that's, the point of where we can know and measure. It goes beyond that.
Yeah, precisely.
That's the point. There's thousands and thousands of miles that's flat.
Yeah, what's being described is when you take the first measurement, so you're looking at the horizon mirror on your sextant, horizon mirror, and when you're doing so, you're drawing a straight line for your first angle, the baseline. Now, there's also a dip correction. If you're on the deck of a ship, you've got to adjust that to get it to the ground itself, because that is the baseline, the ground that's going to run on the measurement to the horizon. But it doesn't, as John's pointing out. It runs beyond the horizon to the GP of the star, which could be thousands of miles away. So you're establishing your straight, flat line with the horizon, the horizontal. Very useful, that horizontal line, for establishing a flat baseline beyond that point to the GP of whatever star you're measuring. So thousands of miles away, flat line between you and that star where it sits, or where it's above the ground, not where it sits, where it flies above the ground. But yeah, between you and the baseline, the GP of that star is flat. You've acquired it from the horizon and then assumed that it carries on flat right out to the GP of the star. Any more on this?
Just to say that's why the sextant's best friend is the black swan. The two work in synergy there to destroy the ball. They can keep going, but to have their sextant applicable to the ball, that horizon needs to be Earth curve, and it needs to be geometric Earth curve to have their 69 miles per degree. Yeah, it has to be, and that's why the black swan takes that argument away from them, or that mathematics that they can try and conflate with and throw it in there to confuse. But the black swan removes the use of that.
Indeed, the black swan destroyed the geometry and the sextant proved it's flat. With that, though, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, stay tuned, as the will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. And if you've got an electric vehicle, that'll be of particular interest to you. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!